Cannell here with another edition of Tip Tuesday. Today I've invited one of the top realtors in the Vancouver Mogul team, Alexis, to talk about one of her favorite types of properties, which are corporate furnished rentals, one of the cash flow kings of the Mogul property list. So Alexis, welcome to Tip Tuesday.
Thanks.
Awesome. So Alexis has been working with a bunch of clients recently who've been investing in properties that then become converted to furnished rentals targeted at corporate clients. And so we're going to talk about some of the things that you want to look for if you're shopping for a unit that can then be used for this application. So Alexis, what are some of the most important things to look out for when we're trying to target a condo that could work for this type of rental property?
Awesome. Yeah, no, that's a great question. I do get asked that quite often because a lot of people who are looking, they're thinking, oh, well, I'm not going to be able to find anything that cash flows. And if I am looking for something, what are some top features that are in the property to look out for? So interesting enough, one of the spaces is going to be, well, first of all, location. So we all know in real estate, location. So places that we're targeting right now is going to be in the downtown core. We find that that's going to have some good appreciation values as well, easy to rent out. So the rentability to rent it out to anyone in the film industry or different types of corporations or businesses, we find that location is crucial. It's key. So we like to focus on the downtown area, somewhere that's going to be close to a transit. So if we're looking SkyTrain, if we're looking public transit, somewhere that's going to be accessible if they don't have any vehicle accessibility. But then when we're actually looking inside the space, interesting enough, we're looking for something that's a little bit more generic. We're not looking for something that's going to be completely unique. We want it because we're going to be essentially renting it out to a corporation, and that corporation wants something that is going to have some key features in it for their clients. One of them is going to be a nice open concept with some outdoor space. We find that a lot of the clients approaching us are going to be wanting something, even if it's just a little balcony or a Juliet balcony, something where they have some kind of an outdoor space, outdoor flow, and nice open concept.
I love it. You know, location really does matter, and downtown is the central hub in Vancouver here. So that makes perfect sense that a lot of those corporate clients are going to want to be downtown. Now, are there any other locations that sometimes pop up on the radar for some of the corporations that typically like to have these types of rentals?
Yeah, it's interesting because right now Port Moody is a hot spot, as well as Coquitlam. Those sorts of areas. Brentwood also is another space that a lot of people have been looking at lately as well.
Awesome. So yeah, the cool thing about the Lower Mainland is there's businesses booming everywhere. And so obviously downtown is a surefire bet, but when you are heading into some of those other communities, Alexis mentioned LRT or SkyTrain access, super important. People get to use that transit to get around. So we're talking about some of the other features inside the suite, outdoor space, really nice amenity. What are some of the other things? I mean, obviously generic is important because if it's too funky, it's not going to appeal to everybody. Whereas generic, it's going to make everybody happy and comfortable in that unit. But what else are we looking for in the specific unit itself?
Yeah, exactly. So to kind of piggyback on that, I would say that there also needs to be an office space. So that's something like, especially in today's day and age, because of COVID, everybody wants to have at least some space that they can work in. So a designated working space.
Makes perfect sense. Yeah. For those days where, you just want to have a work from home day and whatever, it's nice to have that workspace. Now let's talk about the building itself. We've gone into the unit. What are some things that we need to look out for in the specific strata complex? Because as we know, not all buildings are created equal. So what are some of the things in the building, in the strata itself, that we want to pay close attention to so that we know this is going to work out and attract great clientele?
Yeah, so not only is it very useful to have a parking space, so I think I mentioned that earlier, is to have at least one parking space. So that's something that we're going to be looking for. But we want buildings that are not going to be overly old. So nothing more than like 20 years old. We want to make sure that it has a really nice curb appeal to it. So when people are walking up to it, it has a really nice polished look to it. Not old, not dated.
Awesome. Now, in addition to the way that the building looks, are there going to be amenities? Do people use the amenities, or is that, like gyms and pools and that kind of stuff? Or does it really matter for the executive rental game?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because we have found that it doesn't matter as much for all of the amenities. It is nice to have if there is a gym, which most of the newer buildings do. So I mean, that's a nice to have as well if we're talking about saleability. So when we go to resale. But for actually having it as a corporate rental, it's not as important to have like a huge amount of amenities on there.
Okay, well, that's really good to know.
Yeah.
And we know that part of being in a strata is you're ruled by a strata council. There are strata bylaws, and certain stratas we know don't like rentals. So what can we be keeping our eyes open for in the strata documents to make sure that this is actually going to work in the building we're approaching?
That's a great question. And something that we found is going to be called the Form J, which is the rental disclosure statement. So in the rental disclosure statement, we're going to be able to find out from the owner developer what number of lots that are going to be allotted, as well any bylaws which will restrict any of the rentals for now or in the foreseeable future.
Okay, so when we're checking out those docs, make sure to flip through and find Form J. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, super important.
Now, is there anything else to be mindful of? We've got, we started macro and work micro. We know the location, we know what to look for in the suite, we know what to look for in the building, we know what to look for in the bylaws. Is there anything else that, someone who's thinking about getting into the corporate rental game should be mindful of when selecting a unit?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is going to be furnishing it nicely. So not only do we have a really nice layout, so I kind of touched on that already, we want to have a nice open concept. It's not necessarily the square footage, it's going to be the design and then also how you furnish it. So if you have beautiful, wonderful furnishings, it's really going to show off the house nicely.
Awesome. And, comfortable furnishings are going to be huge. Is there, I'm guessing we want to keep that design style somewhat neutral and appealing to everybody, just like the actual interior decor of the suite?
Yeah, exactly. We don't want to go too crazy one way or another. We want it to be nice and neutral for the longevity of it, as well to appeal to the mass.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Well, Alexis, thanks for popping in on Tip Tuesday and giving some really useful advice on how to start thinking about selecting one of these units. And of course, we analyze these deals all the time, and Alexis is a spreadsheet whiz. So it's one thing to know how to find the right unit, but of course, it's all about making that positive cash flow. So don't be shy. Send us a DM and we can crunch some numbers with you. And in the meantime, thanks for checking in on Tip Tuesday.